This will be a good one.
It'll be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stolen base, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios. Oops. Sorry, I got to back up because today we're on the Hitting Zone podcast. I did that on purpose. But we're doing the Hitting Zone podcast today. I'm stepping in for Mitch Thomas, who usually, so Mitch says with the Hitting Zone podcast, we're crushing topics out of the ballpark. Today you got me, so it's only maybe doubles in the gap. I'm not Mitch. So I guess that's good. That'll have to be good enough. But today on the podcast, I'm joined by our good friend of the show, Mr. Dave Wiggins. RBC, got to rocking the RBC gear. I love that. We're going to be, we're going to be out winter workout tour down there in January on a Tuesday evening. We're going to be chatting up some baseball down there. We haven't been down there in a while, have we, Dave?
No, it's been a while. It's been a number of years, actually. So
it was. I think it was pre-COVID, wasn't it?
It was. It was when we were kind of sharing space out at Legacy. That was that was years ago. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, because then we went down to the My goodness, that has been a bit. So we're looking forward to that, getting down back there, seeing the folks, and talking some baseball. But today, got Dave on the show. We're gonna challenge a topic here today. This is something, in my estimation, as a youth baseball guy, somebody that's covered youth baseball for a long time, coached it, been around it, umpired it. I have no idea why we are ranking youth baseball teams on a national, let alone state, let alone a national level, Dave. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Obviously, I have to agree. Obviously you have the large entity in Perfect Game, which is kind of the driver of all of this. Mm-hmm. And Perfect Game makes a lot of money off of their tournaments, off of their showcases. And the easiest way to, in my opinion, get people to get excited about what you're doing or buy into what you're doing is to start ranking kids, ranking teams. If Perfect Game is going to rank your team in the top 50 nationally, you're not going to get that by playing one or two PG tournaments, right? If you have a team and you think you can earn that ranking, which, for whatever reason you think it matters, you're going to have to play a lot of PG events, and PG knows that. They're very, very smart and very good at what they do. I think they run great tournaments here in St. Louis. A number of very competitive teams will come in from out of town, and they'll bring that influx of out of town talent into St. Louis. They're kind of taking over a lot of the AAA major market here in the St. Louis area. I don't think a ton of it is due to their rankings, because if I'm a coach of a team that's comprised of kids from one state or one county or one city, the chances of my team being able to be ranked nationally, they're just slim. The teams, if you go to PG rankings, the teams that are in the top 10 nationally are usually comprised of kids from all over the country. And this could be 8U baseball. This could be 9U baseball. Like you're marketing this as your kid needs to get exposure as soon as possible. You've got to expose your kid to this and this. I'm all for exposing your kids to high level competition. I think it's very important. I think that the goal at the youth level should be to be as prepared for high school competition as you can possibly be. And I'm not saying the goal is to be as prepared for freshman level competition. If you're a freshman, it's very hard at a lot of schools, unless you're almost a medical liability, to get cut as a freshman. Freshman baseball is just, it's the lowest level baseball at the high school level for a reason. I would say that the majority of our 14U teams, the competition that they face and they see is that of JV level, not freshman level. And I'm a big advocate for once you're 13, if you want to play at least JV to varsity baseball, you should be playing AAA major competition as often as possible. And that's not, that's just not the case for every kid.
Right.
There's really good AA ball going on. There's really good AA players at 13, 14 that become impact guys at the high school level. It's just all about how are they developing.
I think that is the point. And I want to come back to this because I love the conversation here, and stepping back into that a little bit when you said, you have AAA major. All right. If you're watching high school baseball and you're following whether it be PG or prep baseball, and you're looking at rankings, you look at the player rankings from there, which I understand. And people have to understand that these rankings are not, that's the best player. These are about projectability sometimes. This is about, we project this guy will be this top player in college, and we're looking at that. There might be somebody down here that you go, man, that guy's better than that guy. Well, maybe up here, but in the future, we'll see. And that's where rankings get a little skewed and people don't quite understand those things. Well, when you're at 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, I've seen a lot of youth baseball, and I don't believe there's enough players at that high level, even especially at that age, to have that many AAA, what we would consider maybe AAA major teams. And I think this is where that gets a bit skewed, right?
Without a doubt. And thankfully, we're not ranking 8 to 13-year-old kids. Thankfully, it is just teens.
That's
a whole other topic. But along with ranking teams, a lot of these showcase companies, PBR, PG, you have to attend their showcases a lot of the times to get those rankings. And the more showcases you attend, the more you're in front of their staff, the more their staff can come to like you as a player, as a kid, and the higher that ranking can be. So that's why I think a lot of times people get hung up on, well, so-and-so is ranked higher than so-and-so on this website. Well, this kid went to 8 events, whereas this kid went to 1. Or this kid got seen in the spring when the showcase company was out to see him, but this kid has gone to an event every, 3 times a year since he was a freshman. The odds of that kid getting that higher ranking are obviously going to be a little bit higher. When you're talking about ranking youth teams, are you ranking all AAA major teams, and is that one subsect? And then are you ranking all AA teams, and you're ranking single A rec? And then you have teams who say they're AAA major, but they can barely win a AA game. You have teams who sandbag and will play AA when they have a 900 winning percentage. So ultimately, what I believe is, if you're a coach of a youth team and you think you belong at a certain level, I would drown out the noise. I wouldn't worry about what other teams are doing. I wouldn't worry if I'm in a semifinal GMB Game 7 PG game and I'm in a AA tournament and I get waxed by a team that's got a bunch of studs. I just see that all the time on Facebook. Oh, we ran into this loaded team. Why are they playing AA? You should want your kids to seek out that competition. And it doesn't matter how many games, tournaments, or trophies you win when you're at the youth level. We're going to go to the D word. It's all about development.
And I think that's the biggest thing, as we're talking about this. What does this create? What has it created? Has it really kind of maybe created a little bit of negative within the youth community in that respect, in what we're seeing from weekend to weekend? I don't think it's all, but has it done that maybe a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you see it. You see it on message boards. You see it on Facebook. You see people upset that there's, for whatever reason, they believe a higher level team playing a lower level event, or oh, this kid's 14 years old. Why is he playing 12U? You got people all worried about what other teams are doing,
Right.
and you never see someone gripe or complain that a team they just played was too good when they beat that team. You only see it when they lose, right?
Yes.
And that's fine, right? But if I lose to you because you're more talented than me, or I'm playing a level above where I belong, my kids got better that day, whether I won or
Mhm.
lost. And I want my guys to get better. And yes, if you're a lower level team and you have to play a team loaded and you lose 20-0, nobody got better. It was a waste of time for everybody. And I can absolutely agree to that. And if you're the team that's sandbagging, you're killing your kids' opportunities to develop and get better as well. Um, but when you talk about youth teams being ranked and you talk about those top teams, those are teams of kids who don't train together, who don't practice together, who live hours away from each other, but they're super talented. They're doing their training on their own, they're doing training with other teams in their area, and then they're coming together and they're winning a bunch of games, or they're super successful. And I would argue that yes, they're developing because they're playing really good competition, but are they developing and becoming more well-rounded baseball players? Are they learning how to play a team game? Because this is a team game. As much as we've tried to individualize it over the years, it's a team game. College coaches will say until they're blue in the face that they want team guys, they want hustle guys, they want high character guys, they want great teammates. Obviously, you need certain traits to play at those schools. Me as a high school coach, I want great teammates. I want guys that are going to build my dugout. I want guys that are going to get us up. I want guys that are going to be a positive presence. I
Mhm.
want guys who played with I want guys who played with good teammates up through the ranks so they know what it's like to be a good teammate. And I think you lose that when you're just comprising these weekend teams that are thrown together with a bunch of studs who literally really don't have to play the game that well when they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, because they're just that much more physical and that much better.
Mhm.
And it's almost like taking a shortcut to win. You don't have to get a bunt down. You don't have to be a great base runner. You don't have to be able to, hit four quadrants of the strike zone. You don't have to be able to throw 2 or 3 pitches. You can throw your 74-mile-an-hour fastball, by these hitters. You can hit balls with a loaded, absolutely loaded -5, -8, Zin 1, Mach, who knows what they're called now. You got 12-year-olds hitting 300-foot bombs. It's taken the ability to be challenged and play the game at a really high level when you're not the most talented player out there. And at some point, no matter who these kids are, they're not going to be on a team in high school or even in the summer at the high school level, and then in college where they just out talent the other team. And eventually, you've got to know how to play the game. You've got to know how to take the extra base, how to hit a cutoff man, you know, how to line up a cut man. You got to know what an infield fly is. I mean, just little things like that that aren't being taught because they don't need to be taught at that age for these kids to be able to win. And I
let
think
me
that is a big problem.
let me ask you. And I'm not aware of this, and maybe I should be. But when you said that if we're taking maybe it's 10U, 11U, and 12U. I don't know if it's 8U. Maybe
Yeah,
if we're taking kids and bringing them into situations just to get a ranking like that at 8, 9, and 10, I think we're doing kids a huge disservice doing that. That I
I
understand.
agree.
I understand at and just all the things you outlined after that. That's a disservice to the kid. I understand, taking an all-star team, basically, for lack of a better way to put it, or a, high-level club. You're pulling kids from different parts of the country, and you're playing the WWBA. I get that. That's
Sure.
that's a whole different thing. You're talking about college. You're talking about best talent. You're talking about a different thought process. At 8, 9, and 10, that shouldn't even be a thought process, in my opinion. Your kid is not being recruited at 8 years old.
I agree at 8, 9, and 10. I really don't think it's all that rampant at 8, 9, and 10. But still, if you're telling 12 and 13 and even 14-year-olds that they need to get their name out there and they need to get exposed and they need to do this, it's like, A, no one's watching 15U baseball anymore, let alone 14, 13, or 12. There's coaches out there in the summer that are going to be watching 16U and 17U baseball. The coaches watching 16U, they're ready to pounce on those soon-to-be juniors in high school on August 1st. And the coaches watching 17U, those are the coaches that are literally ready to go after a ton of kids who either missed out on that August 1st deadline. The 90% of the players who aren't the D1 guys, but really good baseball players who could play JUCO, D2, D3, NAIA. That's what recruiting is. Recruiting happens at 16, 17, and now more so at 17 with these new rules. Zero recruiting happens at 13, 14, and 15. It used to.
Yeah.
It used to be more important to get your name out at 14, right? Because you could literally tell everybody on Twitter and all your friends that you verbally committed to a Power 5 school at the time, right?
Right.
But we're finding out that doesn't mean anything when it comes down to it. It doesn't mean anything, right?
Right.
So and once again, if you're a super talented team at 11, 12, 13, and you want to travel and you want to play a national schedule and you want to compete, you want to see the best, go for it. I love it. There's just so few teams that are ready to do that. There's so few teams.
And there I think is the kicker, and not to name anybody, I know you brought up, but there's some other companies out there that have the national rankings and things, and they've been around a long time doing this. And I remember looking at those and going, you see maybe a team from Missouri that's in there and you're like, well, who have they played? Right. Well,
there's no RPI.
Yeah. Did they go to California or Texas or what? No, they haven't. Cause it's too expensive for one. Why you go to, you maybe go to Memphis, Indiana, down south somewhere around Kansas City. Okay. That's fantastic. But when you have a team and we'll do this, I agree with you. 8 through, I think, 11. Is there really much room? And you're not ranking, and you see the rankings even at those ages. Is it really important to travel that much?
I think it all depends. If you have a team that you have consistently shown, no matter what age, that you're above the level of competition in your area, mm-hmm. and you don't feel that your boys are being challenged enough by playing in town, mm-hmm. then you've got to start to wonder, okay, do we need to go elsewhere? But just because you go out of town doesn't mean you're going to see better competition. I've been doing this a long time. I've traveled a long way, and I played some really bad teams in the WWPA, in the PBR National Championship. It's not a guarantee that these big name tournaments have all good teams. It's luck of the draw.
Yeah.
And when I get my draw and I see there's a loaded team in our pool, I get excited. Some people get upset. Oh, we're not going to advance. I'm not going down there to advance. I'm going down there to play the best. And I challenge someone to find an 8, 9, or 10U team in this area that's too good to play other 8, 9, and 10U teams. I don't think I've seen one. That doesn't mean there isn't one, but mm-hmm. I don't think I've seen one. I think 11 is where it starts to get a little bit different. Mm-hmm. I think of last year's 11U teams. I can't think of an 11U team that was just far and away better than everybody else. They had to go elsewhere. I can't think of a 12U team that was like that. I mean, it's hard to do. It's hard, especially if all of the kids are from the same city or the same area. Like, then you've essentially monopolized all the top talent, and very few programs have been able to do that over the years. All the talent spread out, which, adds to better competition locally. And I think perfect game coming into town and running certain events that are drawing out of town teams that are good, that entices us to stay in town a little bit more. The 13U PGI. I don't know if you got a chance to see that, but you're talking about some of the best 13U teams in the country playing 60-90 distance, and there's kids throwing in the mid-80s at 13. Now you're talking, okay, this is different. You're not going to find this in St. Louis on an everyday base, on an every weekend basis.
You're not going to
Right?
find that in any city on an everyday basis. That's
No,
it.
absolutely not.
That's a
You
that's a
need
one-time thing.
the caliber of that tournament.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have teams who have to qualify to get into that bad boy, or they had to be a top 10 or 15 team in the country to even get entry.
Right.
And it could have been in St. Louis, could have been in Memphis, could have been in Indianapolis.
Yes.
We're blessed to have it here in St. Louis.
Well, it's
But
like when we're doing this year. We're doing our Super 7 Invitational this year, and it's open to whomever, and I hope it grows. And we want to create some opportunities. I'm not looking to rank teams or anything like that. It's just for an opportunity to showcase talent, and we look for kids that are moving on to high school. Who are we going to follow? I want to identify kids and where they're going to school and things like that. It to me, that's the most interesting point of it for me. And we'll see, and then it's competition at 14U. Last year, with Game 7, we do the 14U. We live stream those, and we had some good teams playing baseball. And one of the things that was interesting to me is we had a team from Columbia called the Columbia Aces. And I think they were pretty much an independent team, talented roster, 13U, AAA, played up 14U AA, right? And it was open in that respect. And they came in there, they won the championship one weekend and finished second another weekend. There you go.
that's
If you
awesome.
want to, you challenge yourself. You're talking about 13U playing 60-90,
Well,
right?
that was towards the end of the summer, right? That tournament was that towards the end of the summer.
Oh no, both of these. One of them was right in the middle of it, and the other one, they're both right in the middle of the season.
Oh, okay. I was going to say because some teams they'll age up when they're sure in a month or two when
Oh
fall ball
no,
starts they've got to play that age anyway. So
no,
these guys were like, no, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this right now, which you got to admire that, and that's what I'm talking about seeking out challenges. If AAA competition isn't good enough for you, go and age up and play AA. See how that goes. Because when
right,
you get to high school, age really doesn't matter anymore.
right.
You want to play JV varsity baseball, you got to beat out a kid that's older than you anyway.
Exactly. And I think this is where you can find ways to compete and set yourself in a place, oh, I'm ranked this. It doesn't matter at 14U or 13U. It doesn't matter. Are you playing to a level of competition? I like what you said. That's challenging you no matter where you're playing baseball.
Exactly. Right. Without a doubt. You got to be challenged. Whenever we're talking to a parent or a kid about the team we place them on, that's what I hit on. Is your son going to be challenged? Is he going to face some adversity? Is he also going to get opportunities for success? Is he going to receive adequate playing time? Those are the three things that I have a 3-year-old son, right? I hope he's a good baseball player. If he's not, oh well. But if I'm thinking about a team for him when he's old enough, those are the three things I want to hit on. Is he going to be challenged? Is he going to be allowed to see some success? Is the level not too high for him? And then is he going to get opportunities? And at the youth level, getting opportunities is far more important than the name of the team, the level of the team, the status, the A team, the B team, the national, the American. It doesn't matter. What matters is if your kid is being challenged on the field, if he's allowed to see some success because the level at which he's playing is comparable to where he belongs, and if he's getting opportunities, if you're getting those three things, I feel like you're in a pretty good spot.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Dave, because, I mean, you deal with these things and whatnot. I've talked about this before, and within this scope, I think parents go to these places. They go to those sites and look to see if there's a team ranked, and I think this happens. And I don't think parents are going to a club and talking to a coach, a director, and saying, who's going to be the coach of this 10U team? I want to bring my son to a tryout. Who's the coach? Can I meet him before? What is your program about? They're only looking at, man, that team is ranked. I got to get my son on that one. Rather than understanding what is the best opportunity. Do you see that much happening other than, or just do people come to you and to ask you, what's your program about?
No, people actually do a really good job of seeking out that information, and they do ask who the coach is. What does our program do that sets us apart from others? Sometimes it's tough because there's so many different options to choose from,
Mm-hmm.
and there's so many different options to choose from, and a lot of the times we're getting reached out to, and we're getting emails and phone calls, and we're getting asked all these questions, which are fair questions, but we don't even know if we want your kid yet. And that, I'm not trying to sound harsh by saying that, but we've yet to see your son. We've yet to see where your son fits. Does your son fit in our program? What team does he fit on? So we're going into this blind, and we're answering 20 different questions, but we've yet to see the kid. But if I'm the parent, why would I attend the tryout if I can't get that information beforehand?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So I see both sides 100%. I think we as clubs and club directors need to do a better job of remembering that these parents are making they're not just making a financial commitment, they're making a time commitment. They're making to it what they believe to be an educated decision on why they're attending this tryout. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes we just think, well, if you want to play for us, come to our tryout. It's not that simple anymore. It might have been 10, 15, 20 years ago when there were three clubs to pick from, but it's not that simple anymore. These
Mm.
people want information. They want to make sure that they're attending a tryout at which they believe is a good fit before they show up. And I think we would retain more kids from our tryouts if we gave that information a little bit more openly and freely ahead of time and didn't almost have like that chip on our shoulder, like, oh, why am I telling this person all this? I don't even know who their kid is. Is he going to show up in jeans? Right? Is he wearing? No, I'm
That
telling you,
happens.
yeah, it happens. Right? But we just have to remember. I think we have to do better. We've as clubs and as directors, we have to do better of providing the information for these families and giving them all the information we can possibly give them so they can make an informed, educated decision. Otherwise, they're going to find other clubs that do that.
And I think this is the other part of the equation, like you said. So as a parent, you've asked, and if a club has given you that information, you go to the tryout, and the gentleman says, "Look, we just don't think your son is at the level he needs to be to make this squad." Um, you got to say, okay, what would you suggest? There's no there. I think there's a lot of disconnect on both sides of that. It's not just
Yeah.
one or the other. I think we've created this, and I think this is where some of this ranking stuff and parents searching for this, searching for that, has created some of this disconnect, in my estimation.
Oh, I agree, without a doubt. Um, most most of the time, when you explain to a parent or a kid that they're going to be on the second team or the B team, in my experience, I've received more of a negative response than a positive one.
Agreed.
And I feel like the belief and thought that the B team is no good or they're second class citizens or the second team is this or that, that's when it then becomes up to the club to make those kids on that team feel as valued as the quote unquote one top team, A team, whatever you want to call it. Make sure they're receiving adequate training that's the same as what these top team kids are receiving. Make sure their schedule, even though it might not be as stringent, make sure it's still a competitive schedule. If you sell a second team as a AAA major team, you can't then put those kids in AA tournaments. That's not you can't in good faith do that. Um, so I think there's work to do on both sides. I think parents need to be a little bit more receptive sometimes when we're giving them hard truths. But I think we as club directors and clubs in general need to do a better job of A, being straight with them from the start, and B, giving those B squad, gray, second team, whatever squads the same training and the same perks and all that of being in the club as those kids on that top team. And I think that's sometimes missed.
Because you know as well as I do, and I believe this to be true, whether we want to accept it or not. I would estimate that 90% of players, if you want to put it within this context of what how we set things in motion, are AA or below.
90%.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
just
think
a
that's
very,
fair,
yeah. I mean, that's because AA ball is still good baseball,
right?
especially 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like AA ball is still good baseball. Like you still see kids who are they're developing on the fly. They're getting to play competition comparable to what they're ready to see. I mean, you're not going to get better by playing competition that you can't hang with either. And you have to see some success in order to get better.
Yeah.
You can't play a sport that constantly knocks you down, that's designed to make you fail, and then you fail over and over and over. Nothing's going to motivate you to keep playing. And that's I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen where kids they just almost get in a little bit over their heads, and next thing you know, it's like, why am I still doing this?
And this is where I've seen this, and I'm not. This is a general application of things I'm talking about, folks. I'm not singling out people or anything. It's just general observation over the past 20 years of watching and being part of the youth baseball community. It's just what you see. And you have the parents say, "Well, no way, man. My kid he's going to stick. You got to put him on this." No, you gotta understand that there is a development process. That doesn't mean that your kid isn't going to be the varsity stud when he gets there.
Right?
How are you truly helping him get to that point? Because he may be the shortest guy on the team at 14U. And he's the biggest kid on the team as a senior on his varsity squad. You've seen that, haven't you, Dave?
Without question. I mean, even my team at Webster this year, I think of my seniors who graduated, and a lot of them grew up playing lower level ball when they were younger. And as they started to realize, oh wow, I'm good at this. I can challenge myself a little bit more. I can push myself a little bit harder. They slowly kind of moved up through the ranks. And I think of a guy like Jackson Torbett, who came in as a freshman, who was throwing 76, which, heck, for us at Webster, a freshman throwing 76, that got me a little excited. Not gonna lie. I'm serious. But just what he was able to do from playing local ball growing up, with a lot of his friends who ended up getting to play with in high school, to what he was able to just transform himself into. A Henry Biffer, a Drew Patrick, Isaiah Sims, like all those guys, like they're all now, they were varsity impact players as juniors, seniors. They weren't AAA major level guys when they were 9, 10, 11, 12. And who cares? At the end of the day, no one cares once you get to high school. That's why when you play 15U ball in the summer, it doesn't say AAA major or AA anymore. Like, you're literally seeking out. If you know you're a national level team at 15, you find those tournaments. If you're more of a local team, you find those tournaments. If there's other entities in St. Louis where they do a really good job of kind of tiering what the local competition at the high school level should be. And we as club guys know where our teams fit within those ranks. But we stop saying AA, single A, triple A. Like, we stop because it doesn't matter.
Right. And as you said, I agree with you, because I've said this for a long time. You got to know if you should play local, regional, or national. And that's the three different quadrants that you have once you hit 15U. And if you are a local team and you want to play, you want to stretch out because you got some kids that, you could play at a collegiate level. Where are you going to go? What schools you looking at? What area do you want to play in that might fit that? Regionally, and I think this is always what's tough. You got kids, we're ranking this team and whatnot. Well, that team isn't going to play together. More than likely, if they're 10U, they'll be on 5 different club teams when they're at 15.
Easily, without a doubt. Yeah.
So what did that ranking matter? It didn't matter. What's the fit? Did I really, I think one of the biggest things that I look at when we're talking about this subject is at 10, 12, 14, is the coach helping your player get better? Is there the communication level between the parent and the coach good? Is all of those things working to where that your player is developing at the right time frame, at the right level, his body, and there's that good relationship and rapport. That's what I think.
Well, in high school and college, you don't get to pick your coach.
Right.
In youth baseball and summer baseball, you essentially do.
Yeah.
You essentially get to pick your coach. You get to pick who you feel is going to help your kid, who's going to establish a good relationship with your kid, or who already has. Like I said on the other podcast, there's so many of us around. There's so many clubs around. The club name isn't what gets these kids to stay. It's the coaches. It's the relationships that these kids build with the trainers in the facility, with the coaches on their teams. That's what gets the kids to stay. That's what retains players. That's what retains good players. That's what retains quality baseball players, is you being a quality coach. And years and years ago, I mean, when I played Legion ball, I don't think my mom said one or two words to my Legion coach. I have full-on conversations with the parents on my players' teams. I want to develop a relationship with them. I want them to know that I'm in their kid's corner and I'm doing what I can for their son. That way, if something does arise where they feel like I've done my kid wrong, or I've done their kid wrong, or I've taken an opportunity away from him, we can have a conversation. Hey, here's why I did what I did. Like, can you meet me in the middle here? And I think that leads to building a strong team that can stay together. And it's hard to do. It's hard to build a summer team that stays together throughout the years. There's just so many different opportunities. And if your players are really good, then you got a chance of losing them to national programs, which you can't fault them for going. Right? I mean, Canes National offered me a free spot. They're going to pay for my hotel room. Like, dude, go. Like, go challenge yourself. Right? But then it's up to me as a coach. Like, I can offer you something better than that. I can offer you great competition, but I can offer you the personalization that they might not be able to. So our jobs are hard. They're not easy. They're not easy. And it's not just coaching kids. It's building relationships. It's not just knowing the game. It's knowing how to teach the game. It's knowing how to talk to kids and how to relay that info to their parents as well. Because parents are necessary. They're not a necessary evil. They're necessary. They make the engine go. And you as a coach have to show them the utmost respect, and you have to prove to them that you have their kid's best interest at heart, and you're going to help their kid, or they're going to leave.
Absolutely. And, as you're saying this, and this is why I think, I understand it's probably not going to go away. The rankings will stay and they'll still do what they do. But as a parent, I like the way you put it. We need to dial out the noise a little bit that way and just look at the situation as a development process. And as coaches, and this is always something I think is a negative, even with high school coaches. I understand that as a coach, you can't just always stand around and talk to a parent and listen to them gripe and whatnot. I get all those things. I understand there has to be some boundaries set and certain things set. And as a parent, it was always my point of view to tell my son, look, if you got a problem, you better go talk to the coach. If you're not building a relationship with the coach, then that's on you. And I don't know what to tell you. When my son went to college, that was the first thing I said. You're going to have to start developing that relationship with your head coach. What does that look like? What kind of person is he? Does he know you? Does he know your personality? How do you develop that? And I think this is where we get lost in this. We're so busy looking at rankings. We forget we can teach a 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old how to develop relationships with somebody that's mentoring them and I think the importance of that is getting lost a little bit, Dave.
No, I could not agree more. And you mentioned, back, when I was in high school, it was probably unheard of for a parent to email the coach or reach out to the coach, or and even we were almost discouraged where I went to college, to even have a hard conversation with our coach. Like, it was no, like, I'm the coach, you're the players, your input really doesn't matter. Um, that those days are gone. Like, I
Mhm.
want my players' input. I want my varsity players' input. When I got the job at Webster, I met with all the the soon to be seniors, and I asked them, "Hey, from this previous group, what did you like? What did you not like? What do you want to see differently? Like, this is your program, it's not mine. How can I make your experience in this program better?" Um, and there's coaches that approach it that way. I think they are able to build those better relationships. Um, when you're talking about, I don't care. I'm gonna throw it out. TBR. Okay. TBR. The way that they rank is people literally like just vote a team in, and they can email, hey, this team should be ranked. Some of those teams don't even exist anymore. So the moment I pull up a ranking where there's a team that doesn't exist, or there's a team that I know is clearly nowhere near where they should be, I discount all the rankings. Like,
Mhm.
I think team rankings at the youth level literally cannot be decided. There's way too much going on. There's no way you can rank youth teams. I mean, shoot, some teams have kids from another program playing for them certain weekends that program's off. I'm serious, right? I mean, you're I'm not going to tell one of my players, hey, we're off this weekend. You cannot go play for that program. I'm not that type of guy. You want to go play more baseball, play more baseball. You might help them win a championship. I couldn't care less, right?
Right. Right.
Um, but hey, maybe you helped them win a championship in the 3 weekends that you weren't playing for me, and their team's ranked higher than me. I do not care. I do not care about team rankings at the youth level. I just don't. I really don't care about team rankings at the high school level, to be honest. Um, because, but because if you're playing high school level summer baseball, in my opinion, your goal should be to get recruited by a school. And
Mhm.
there's not a college coach in the country who cares how successful your team is. They may tell you they want you to be a successful team player. They want to see you on a winning team, but at the end of the day, they're not recruiting your team, they're recruiting you and what you
Mhm.
bring to their program.
Yeah.
And I just don't I can't think of any of my guys who have been passed up or have received offers because of the team they were on. That has absolutely nothing to do with it. Maybe the team they're on gets more coaches in the stands because there's a bunch of good players on it, but they're not looking, oh, they're ranked third nationally. We've got to go watch them. No, that's just not how it goes. So I think team rankings are ridiculous.
I love that. Where that finishes it right there. That's it.
Yeah.
Drop the mic, bro.
Boom.
I think this is a conversation I think needs to be had as we're going into the season. And I think, the more we can bring these, comment below if your thoughts, your comments. Would love to hear from what you have to say about this, because I think the more we discuss these types of things, the more we bring the conversation into the mind of the people around. That's what has to be. And hearing from coaches like yourself in clubs and in high school and whatnot, and parents hearing these conversations, it's important, Dave. Don't you agree?
It is. We've got to come to a place where we just got to come to a place where we can all agree on certain things, but also agree to disagree on some other things, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay if someone comments below and says that what Dave's saying doesn't make sense. That's fine. That's my opinion, right?
Yeah.
That is my opinion. Um, but the closer we can bring parents and players to clubs and the philosophies between us all, the easier this is all going to become. The
Yeah.
more understanding we're going to have, the less yelling and screaming fights we're going to have between parents and coaches. The less, no, I'm serious. The less coaches,
Yeah.
and those coaches that yell and scream at kids on the field, get them the heck out.
Yep.
Get them gone. Seriously, you treat these kids with respect. You treat the parents with respect. The yelling and screaming throughout the stands of one fan to another, it needs to stop. It's about the kids. It is 100% about the kids. It's not about me. It's not about the parents. I'm not the one trying to promote myself. I'm not trying to be a great baseball player anymore. I'm trying to help these kids be good baseball players. No
Yeah.
one cares what type of baseball player I am. They want to know, how can I impart my knowledge to them? How can I impart what I've learned to them? That's what makes a good coach. The authoritarian yelling and screaming and my way or the highway, those days are long gone. And those guys are a dying breed, and you see less and less of them. But I just message everybody. Let's try to be better as a whole. Like, we as directors and clubs, we've got to do a better job. And we want open dialogue and open conversation. If you have issues, if you have things to bring to the table that you think could help us as a club, and you're in our club, we welcome those conversations. We're not going into this thinking we know everything. We don't want parental feedback. Parental feedback is what helps make us better in the long run.
I love that. And we were this week live with Dave Penning. We do that, our winter workout meetings. We bring them on. We talk about baseball. And it's always interesting to me because, as a tournament director, Penning says the same thing. We want your feedback. We don't get better unless, we hear from the parents. We, agree, disagree with certain things, this, that. But without the conversation, how am I supposed to know if there's an issue or to get better at or to do whatnot? That's why it doesn't always mean that it's right, wrong, or different, or that it'll happen or will happen or won't happen. It's just, let's start there. And I think we can move from there. And that's where it goes. And that's what.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. These tournament companies are in competition with each other, just like us clubs are. You need to give these companies grace. And it's not, hey, this company has horrible umpires. No, they're youth umpires. They're doing their best job. They're literally doing their best job that they can do. These companies understand that if you guys want to play baseball games, we got to have umpires. And if they just don't supply us umpires, then people are griping that there's no umpires. So, we just need to go into this understanding that these tournament companies want us to play baseball. They're doing everything they can to get their fields ready, to staff the games with umpires. You're not going to get a great crew every time. Your field might have some bumps on it here and there. And they're doing all they can to provide these kids a good baseball playing experience. They're not in it. They're not in it for some self-serving reason. They're literally there. They know that in order for them to make money and keep thriving, they've got to provide a good experience. So they're doing everything they can to do that. That goes for Game 7, G&B, Up and Coming, Play 9, PG, all of them. I love them all.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. And I love that, Dave, because, and I would tell this, umpires, read your rule books, National Federation of High School rule book. Read it. Go read it.
Right.
Take the time to do that. And parents, don't scream at the umpire. Your team just made 5 errors the previous inning. The umpire made one. It's a wash. Let's go.
That is my favorite argument ever. It's like when a kid wants to get upset with an umpire. Man, he's screwing us. Like, didn't you just make an error last inning? The umpire turned to you and say, "Nice play." No. More times than not, we make more errors as a team and as a staff than the umpires make mistakes. But we're the first ones to yell at umpires. It's crazy. It really is.
It is, man. And that guy's been out there for the last, 8 hours doing 4 games. So cut him a little slack. He might have missed that one.
So what, man? Most of the ones that they missed, we missed, and we thought they missed it because they're better at their jobs than what we give them credit for. The only thing we ask of our umpires is to just pay attention.
Yeah.
Right? Pay attention. Act like you want to be out there. Because as much as we want to say that they're volunteering their time, that they are being paid. This is a job, right? And they're held to a standard as well. And I respect the heck out of umpires who, well, you could blow 5 calls in a game if you do it authoritatively and you do it paying attention and you do it with some gusto. Cool. Blow all the calls you want.
Act like you believe it, baby.
Absolutely.
I love it. Oh, man. Hey, folks, Dave Wiggins, always a pleasure, my friend. I enjoy the conversation a lot. Love having you on the show.
Love being here. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Hey, next week, Mitch will be back. Had some personal things he had to deal with. The Hitting Zone podcast, make sure you subscribe. Hit the dinger next to it because that's what Mitch does. He hits dingers. I'm just kind of a gap-to-gap kind of guy. I'm not that guy, man. Don't have it. It's what it is, you know. But dingers and doubles, you know, I get on with the double. Mitch hits it out of the park. We're in good shape. I love that stuff. There it is. So thanks again, folks. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, give them some advice, Dave. Give a pitcher advice.
Let's keep it simple. Throw strikes.
I like simple. All you hitters, hit them where they ain't. We'll see y'all next time.
Drop bombs like Mitch. We're on the Hitting Zone podcast. Come on.
I'm sorry.